Welcome to this episode of the Conscious Business Coffee Break, where we take a few moments to explore what's happening in the conscious business movement, expand awareness, and importantly, encourage your efforts in conscious business. Greetings, everyone. I'm Stephen Donaco of the Conscious Business Enterprise, a division of humanities team. And on today's program, we're talking about how conscious use of money influences happiness. And this is based on a infographic that I came across in the online version of Yes Magazine. And I'll put a link to that in the comments to the video when I finish. But I do want to just go through it with you. And I want to look at this graphic and its data with respect to conscious business, looking at it through a conscious business lens. So the graphic itself is titled The Happiness Multiplier Effect. And the sources of this data are listed at the bottom of the infographic, but a couple of different institutions have done this research. And the first finding in the graphic is that there's a limit to how much happiness money buys. The increase in everyday emotional well-being versus annual income. So basically, the conclusion is that in general, after someone earns $75,000 annually, earning more money has little effect on their level of happiness. So think about that from the standpoint of conscious business. And there's such a great pay differential in many large corporations between senior executives and line workers. And you have to wonder how much happier are those senior executives making 100, 200, 300, 400 times more than line workers. And one of the effects of that seems to be that the more money you make, it creates a desire, an insatiable desire just to make more money for the sake of it. And is it really increasing one's happiness? And I would say that the hoarding of money, particularly at that executive level, the hoarding of money does not equal more happiness, because it really just becomes a race to make more and more money. So, and also, is that making of more money creating more stress? I would say likely it is, because particularly with large companies, there is the pressure to always meet short-term profit expectations. It creates more ego, the more money one makes, but does it really increase one's self-awareness and inner fulfillment? And then making more money at that level seems to result in less empathy and being less personally accessible. Like, for instance, in our culture, how often do we exalt these executives as almost gods, and they're not even accessible to the common person? And even within a company, if you are a line worker, you will probably never have the occasion to see the CEO or to talk to that person personally, unless he or she makes themselves available. But they're far beyond the reach of the common person within a company. The next finding was that giving to others increases one's own happiness. So in a university study, people who gave $5 or $20 to spend were much happier when they spent that money on others. And those who spent that money on themselves reported no change in happiness. And the amount that was given didn't matter. So the implications for conscious business are, and I ask this question rhetorically, is can companies invest better in employees all down the line? Employee development dollars, especially with larger companies, tend to be disproportionately spent on executive development. So if you look at leadership development programs or other high-level employee development programs, they're really spent on developing at the lowest level, like middle executives on up. And when I was working, when I've been doing my own consulting business and talking to people about leadership development and other forms of employee development, such as even just doing mindfulness, or even doing things like uh, heart math in a company. I was told by not a few people that that kind of money, the discretionary money spent on developing people or supporting people, tends to be weighted towards the top. So if companies are consciously investing in employees all the way down the line, will they even feel better about the money that they're spending rather than just uploading it? The third finding was that happiness spreads through interaction and proximity. So, for instance, one person's happiness triggers a 3-degree chain reaction that benefits not only their friends, but their neighbors' friends and their friends' neighbors' friends. So, just keeps rippling down the line. So, for instance, in the study, being near one happy person increases happiness for one's neighbor, one's spouse, a sibling living within a mile, and then a friend living within a mile. So, what are the implications of this for conscious business? Well, look at employee engagement. So, one of the statistics that the Gallup organization has come up with is a metric called actively disengaged employees. And within every company, there tends to be different levels of engagement based on how fulfilled people are. And at the very worst is what's called actively disengaged. And these are people who not only are not engaged in their jobs, but they tend to spread negative attitudes throughout the company that affect the people they work with. So if those people are actively disengaged, or we could say actively unhappy, they're spreading that unhappiness to others. And this is all can be happening subconsciously, but it happens nevertheless. So it's in companies' best interest to do all they can to ensure that everyone in the company, all the way down the line, is feeling engaged and happy. And then the fourth and final statistic in this graphic is that the fair distribution of wealth increases happiness more than economic growth. So this is with respect to countries, the statistic. So basically, the finding is that life satisfaction rises with a country's economic growth, but it falls in proportion to the severity of income inequality. So the implications of this particular statistic for conscious business is let's replace the word country with company. So if we say life satisfaction rises with a company's economic growth, but it falls in proportion to the severity of income inequality, what does that mean for how companies can do better by ensuring more equitable, fairer, and better pay for companies at every level? And I was reading a piece on the restaurant industry and why it tends to get a bad rap because people who are on the line, who are servers and cooks and so forth, don't always make a living wage, and it becomes a problem for not only those people individually, but for our society. And if companies in every industry take a closer look at that the satisfaction of their employees' lives rises with economic growth of the company and of the people, how much actually more successful will that company be in the long run? So with respect to the Conscious Business Declaration, I see a couple of principles at work with this. One, the purpose of business is to increase economic prosperity while contributing to a healthy environment and improving human well-being. And then number 6, business that sees, honors, and celebrates the essential interconnected nature of all human beings and all life, maximizes human potential, and helps create a world that works for all. So there you have it. I'll put a link to this infographic in the video comments when I'm done. But thank you for everybody who tuned in. Appreciate you always, and grateful for your interest in these continued coffee breaks. So thanks for joining me today. We'll see you again on Friday, 9 a.m. U.S. Central Time for another edition of the Conscious Business Coffee Break. Have a great day, everyone.